Leave him be.
The Hound and Gendry, we thought it would make sense for kind of the 1-2 punch of these two people who would serve very, very different roles in her life.
Is that command, Lady Stark?
Don't call me that.
He still thinks that she's the same girl that he left beforehand.
We've gotten better.
Yeah, thanks. So have you.
I think for Arya, it's remembering who she was before.
I mean, you look good.
Thanks.
Like, I used to be that girl, and that's who I was in love with and thought I would just follow to the end of the world.
The Hound Arya reunion, that's the thing we were most excited about writing.
You left me to die.
First I robbed you.
Everyone would hope that the reunion between Arya and the Hound would be laughs and giggles, but actually it starts off as like cold, because it's kind of the defense mechanism for both characters.
You're a cold little bitch, aren't you? Guess that's why you're still alive.
There's also Tyrion and Sansa.
There's something between Tyrion and Sansa that you can't quite put your finger on, because they're... You left me, and then you know what happened to me, and I know what happened to you.
Apologies for leaving like that.
Yes, it was a bit hard to explain why my wife fled moments after the king's murder.
It's tricky with them. They have to watch their words around each other, but at the end of the day, she does trust him.
And at the very end, we have the silent reunion with Jaime and Bran.
If he tells the rest of the clan the truth, I'm done. I'm dead.
To me, I wanted to make sure that with respect to people getting back together again, those all had their credence and importance, but also I didn't want the audience to forget the fact that the impending doom was coming.
Hey, camera Mark.
They're coming. There's no way around it.
This is a great horror movie sequence that Dave Nutter directed the hell out of.
Somehow, Beric and Tormund survived falling down that wall of ice.
We find that it's strangely, there's blood everywhere, but there's no bodies.
Stay back, he's got blue eyes!
I've always had blue eyes!
Did you find anyone?
The scene in The Last Earth, we have a mandala of limbs and body parts the Night King has left behind, which form this kind of pattern. And in the middle of it, we have Ned Umber, who's basically pinned to the wall on a huge stake. Obviously, we know what happens to people who are killed by the Night King and the White Walkers. The young boy was suspended in a harness, and then to basically kill the White, Beric uses his flaming sword and takes out the White. We had to shoot that on a stunt guy called Paul Lowe, who was of a similar sort of stature to the actor playing Ned.
Game of Thrones is the first time I done a full burn, so that's a nice tick. What I guess a lot of stuntmen want to have.
And for that, because he was going to be engulfed in flames, we had to make a look-alike fire mask.
Larry, good? You can hear me okay, yeah? I love what you've done with your hair.
It's a message from the Night King. Being Beric Dondarrion, I'm always setting people on fire.
You have the mask off, you talk through it, what the process is going to be.
We'll roll the cameras, okay? The first 3, 2, 1 will be to light the sword. Then it'll be 3, 2, 1, action for Nick to stab you. You lift your arm up to stab on 3, okay? On action, he's going to stab you. Hold this position like this. When you hear me start to count, that's when you start to react.
You then have to go and do it. They'll gel you, they'll spit you, and they'll light you. You have an idea of what it's going to be like, but when I was set on fire, you've only got these little small eye holes. All I could see were little flicks in my eyes of like a little bit of red. And the first time they done it, and it went over and they put me out. And I said, was I on fire? And he said, yeah, it was massive.
You've completely ruined horses for me. It almost seemed like he knew where I wanted to go.
You're quite...
Fuck's sake.
We're shooting in Iceland. Isn't it beautiful? We only have about 6 hours of light, so we all come out about 3 hours before the sun rises. Grip and electric had to lay about a 40-foot track. The art department was laying down all the bones for our nest for our dragons.
Some of those locales in Iceland are so breathtaking that real environments just help the actors so much. So if it's Kit and Amelia walking past a frozen river in Iceland and they're shivering, that's real.
Yeah, this fire lady, dragon mama, is not used to the cold.
No problem. I can stand in snow all day.
I just loved I could go there with Amelia. I got to show this thing that's been such a large part of the Thrones world for me. I got to show her Iceland.
Magic dragon ride. I like it. It's just felt like the magic carpet ride. We're just sort of playing Tig and there's dragons. It's beautiful.
We were lucky to get a great day of aerial photography in Iceland with a helicopter shooting these most beautiful river canyons with beautiful snow coverage. And then where they land was meant to be a very pristine and gorgeous location as well. Dan and David said, maybe, can we have a waterfall here? So we went all the way to Iceland to this beautiful canyon, and then we end up adding a massive waterfall later on in post because it still wasn't quite spectacular.
Oh.
Please, Yellow.
Let's roll, please. Rolling. I think the actual dragon ride was like, yeah, it's one bit where you've got to convey your love for each other and you're in a green box on a buck.
So much of what we're doing now requires robotics. We'll start with previs, and in order to then shoot it, we'll go onto a green screen stage with a motion base, which is kind of like a mechanical bull, only in this case it's got a dragon's butt on top of it. And then the cameras are swinging around on a 3D controlled wire rig programmed to match the previs.
Don't know how to ride a dragon!
Buck work is not easy. I think what sums up the buck for me was there was a bit where John almost falls off the dragon, swings round really violently like this, and my right ball got trapped and I didn't have time to say stop. And I was being swung round. In my head, I thought this is how it ends. On this buck, swinging me round by my testicles, literally. Sorry. Probably too much information. It's just way too much to take. I was joking with John of like, how do you receive all those bits of information? How do you possibly try and act that when they've got death raining down on them? And suddenly he finds out the truth about his life, that he's not a bastard, that everything he's lived by is not the case. And on top of that, that his new love of his life is his aunt. I was like, oh, come on, this is an impossible task.
I wasn't a king. But you were. You've always been.
He wouldn't want to hurt John with it. He would only tell John that if it was the truth. If there's one thing he knows about Sam, he knows that Sam is a stickler for facts, and Sam is very literal.
You've never been a bastard. You are Aegon Targaryen, true heir to the Iron Throne.
The way to get round it was disbelief, like Sam's gone mad. What are you talking about? Quickly followed by it making sense and anger.
You're the true king. Aegon Targaryen, 6th of his name, protector of the realm. All of it.
I don't care if you're my best friend in the world, I will knock you out. How dare you tell this to me?
My father was the most honorable man I ever met. Your father, Ned Stark, he promised your mother he'd always protect you. And he did. Robert would have murdered you if he knew.
And the truth that Samwell tells John is probably the most incendiary fact in the entire world of the show. Ned Stark understood how dangerous the truth about John was, and that's why he protected John from it.
You gave up your crown to save your people. Would she do the same?